Imagine a man not just defying a king but also the heavens. Today, we will discover how Elijah, against all odds, not only summoned fire from heaven but also unveiled truths that could transform our understanding of strength and faith. This man not only changed the course of a nation but also how we view the power of conviction and spiritual belief. Prepare yourself for a surprising and powerful journey through the life of one of the most famous biblical prophets. Elijah, a prominent prophet from the northern kingdom of Israel, witnessed and mediated some of the most remarkable miracles recorded in the scriptures. In an era marked by great disobedience and idolatry, he was tasked with proclaiming a severe drought over the land, a symbolic judgment against the people's unfaithfulness. During this extreme scarcity, God's provision for Elijah was extraordinary and miraculous. God sent ravens to feed him bread and meat at dawn and dusk while he took refuge by the brook Cherith. Later, after the brook dried up, Elijah was led to Zarephath, where a widow and her son were miraculously sustained by a jar of flour and a jug of oil that never ran out. Elijah's ability to adhere strictly to God's instructions, despite adverse circumstances, demonstrates extraordinary faith and unwavering obedience that serve as an example to this day. The climax of Elijah's mission occurred on Mount Carmel, where he directly confronted the prophets of Baal in a public display of divine power. Before an assembly of gathered Israelites, Elijah proposed a definitive test to reveal the true God. Each party would prepare a sacrifice but not light the fire. Instead, they would call on their gods to do so. While the prophets of Baal futilely cried out to their God, Elijah prepared his altar with 12 stones, symbolizing the 12 tribes of Israel, and drenched the sacrifice with water to intensify the challenge. With a simple prayer, Elijah called upon the Lord, who immediately responded with fire from heaven that consumed not only the sacrifice but also the stones, water, and dust around it. This powerful miracle indisputably demonstrated God's supremacy over false gods and sparked a revival of faith among the Israelites, with the people proclaiming in unison, "The Lord, He is God." Despite his overwhelming triumph on Mount Carmel, the victory brought new trials. The threat of death from Jezebel led Elijah into despair, causing him to flee to the desert where, exhausted and discouraged, he pleaded with God for his own death. However, the divine response was one of compassion and renewal, not rebuke. God sent an angel to nourish Elijah, bolstering his physical and spiritual energies for the journey ahead. This moment of isolation and spiritual renewal underscores a vital message: even the most resolute prophets and servants of God are not immune to despair and fear. The way God cared for Elijah during this vulnerable time illustrates divine understanding and mercy, reaffirming that God sustains and restores those who serve faithfully, even in their lowest moments. During his stay at Mount Horeb, the sacred mountain of God, Elijah experienced a profound spiritual transformation. While waiting for God's manifestation, he witnessed intense natural phenomena, strong winds that broke rocks, an earthquake, and a great fire. However, God chose to reveal himself not through these powerful events but through a gentle and delicate whisper. This intimate moment redefined Elijah's understanding of God, who is not limited to the grandiose and spectacular, but also speaks in silence. This experience not only reaffirmed Elijah's mission but also reinforced the need for constant and attentive communion with God, teaching us the importance of finding tranquility and divine direction even amid adversity. Elijah was a catalyst for the spiritual restoration of Israel. In a period dominated by idolatrous worship encouraged by Ahab and Jezebel, Elijah emerged as a voice calling for repentance and return to God. The prolonged drought he prophesied was not just a judgment but also a means to awaken the people of Israel to the reality of their transgressions and the need for spiritual renewal. The dramatic event on Mount Carmel, where he challenged and defeated the prophets of Baal, was a turning point that revived national faith in God, reminding Israel of its true spiritual foundation and commitment to the Lord. Prayer held a central place in Elijah's life. It was the engine of his mission and the secret of his strength. Each significant act he performed was rooted in deep and persistent communication with God. From interceding for no rain to crying out to God for the resurrection of the widow's son at Zarephath, each of Elijah's prayers demonstrated a profound trust in God's power and mercy. The episode on Mount Carmel, where he prayed for fire from heaven, highlights the power of fervent prayer and the certainty that God responds to true and sincere faith. Elijah exemplifies unwavering faith. Even facing death threats and gigantic challenges, his trust in God never wavered. His commitment to following God's will, regardless of external pressures, serves as a model for all believers. The story of Elijah teaches us that true faith is resilient, capable of facing and overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. Through his journey, Elijah shows us that genuine faith not only endures trials but is refined and strengthened by them, resulting in ever greater trust and dependence on God. Elijah left a legacy of courage, faith, and obedience that transcended his time. Being taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, he became one of the few biblical characters to receive such an honor, symbolizing his closeness and favor with God. Elijah not only confronted kings and changed the course of Israel's history but also paved the way for his successor, Elisha, to whom he passed his prophetic mantle. This symbolic act ensured the continuity of his mission and the strengthening of faith in Israel. Elijah's ministry inspires believers of all generations to pursue justice and truth and to confront evil with divine determination. Elijah's saga is a powerful reminder of the visible and invisible forces that shape our faith. Operating under divine direction, this prophet faced adversity with a courage that transcends common understanding. From challenging corrupt authorities to overcoming moments of deep personal depression, Elijah exemplifies perseverance in faith even under the most extreme pressures. His life invites each of us to reflect on our spiritual journey and the constant presence of God guiding us through challenges. As we conclude our exploration of Elijah's life, we invite you to dive deeper and discover aspects of his story you may not know. Are there any events in Elijah's life that were new to you or that inspired you in a special way? Share your findings in the comments below. We want to hear your voice and your stories, as each comment enriches our community with new perspectives and teachings. Join in, like and share the video, and subscribe to the channel to not miss any of our explorations through the rich tapestry of biblical faith.